The business environment is very positive for duty-free. The conversations I have with operators and suppliers, while somewhat anecdotal, is all upbeat, and they feel good about the traffic loads and patterns. So I think people are feeling much more comfortable than they were 2 years ago. The trading environment for the duty-free industry is very positive. And I think in most regions and most sectors, you're seeing an upswing in business, certainly versus 2012 and way ahead of where it was 2 years ago. So I think both the operators and suppliers are feeling very, very good about the trading environment. I think the attendance level at the show is a reflection of how well the business is doing, not just in terms of number of attendees, and we're expecting around 2,900 registrants at the show in Orlando, but it's also the size and appearance of the booths, the sponsorship levels, and you see all of that on the upswing this year. And so I definitely think there's a correlation between how the industry is doing and how people participate in the trade show environment. The security issues in the U.S. Continue to be problematic. We have, for over 6 years now, been burdened with restrictions on the sale of liquids and gels. And while it's not just a U.S. problem, it tends to be highlighted in the U.S. for obvious reasons. So there are discussions underway between the EU, the U.S., and other organizations to try and find a solution that would allow people to bring liquids and gels through security in tamper-evident bags. The EU itself has been a bit of a driving force and has actually some statutory deadlines they're supposed to meet. So there are discussions. I'm optimistic there'll be some progress. Whether we meet a January 2014 deadline, I think, remains a question. And obviously it has a restriction on the ability of operators to sell certain products. So there is a definite monetary impact for the business, but there's also the problem of just confusion for the consumer. And so that's one of the big reasons we want to try to address that and fix it. And so the effort between the EU and the U.S. is moving in that direction. But it's also important to say that it's not just a bilateral effort. The goal, if you talk to representatives from IATA and ICAO, is to have this on a much broader scale and solve it. But it's going to take some time. And it's complicated, it's costly. The technology, while it's better, is still costly. But all of those discussions and efforts are underway, and I think you'll see some movement. You know, in the States, the ability to get visas remains a problem. If you're not part of a visa waiver program like you have, for example, with the EU, where it's not so complex, for many other countries, it is. The BRIC nations in particular would be a good example of where people struggle for both business and educational scientific reasons to come to the U.S. on visas. Part of it has just been a limitation on the ability of staffing in those countries to process all the applicants. And so Customs, Immigration, and others have launched some technology solutions where they're allowing some of that interviewing to be done over the net, if you will. They've also opened up more offices in some of the countries so people can have access to them. For many years, Brazil had 2 locations. It's a massive country, and you can't have it work that way and expect people to have an easy time of it. So there's been a real focus and recognition by a number of people in the States that this inability to get visas easily is restricting tourism, is restricting some attendance at conferences, is creating problems for scientists that want to come over here. And so there's a real focus on it, both at the federal level and at some of the nonprofit organizational levels in the U.S. And I think that it is getting better, but it's by no means as easy as it needs to be. And if they don't fix it, people will stop traveling to the States. There are a number of issues facing the IAADFS membership and the leadership. We've talked a little bit earlier about the whole issue with liquids and gels, and that continues to be a priority. We're going to continue to experience issues at the state and local level, country level, on restrictions on the sale of certain products. Tobacco issues would be a prime example, where they're doing display bans and other restricted actions that will impact operations in duty-free. We're focused on allowance restrictions that are a little bit disparate, and you have situations like Australia where they've really restricted dramatically the amount of product that you can bring in, and so those activities, along with trying to support efforts to increase the infrastructure development at airports, are all areas of concern. As the stores get larger and grow, and as tourism continues to expand and travel, you got to have the revenue to expand the airport infrastructure, and so there are efforts to work with that as well. But I think those are the main issues at the moment. If I had three wishes for the duty-free business in 2013, it would be to continue and expand the travel numbers, the more and more air traffic. It would be to either eliminate or certainly ease some of the regulatory environment restrictions that we have to operate on that continue to be problematic from my perspective. And then I think the third one is just this continued investment in the airport infrastructure of the stores themselves, which you're seeing on a global basis. They're bigger, they're brighter, they're more attractive, the product mix is better, they're more customer friendly, and so I think those three issues, if you combine them, and that's your wish list, would really make for a healthy business environment for both the operators and suppliers.